Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Urban Homesteader. Today we are going to be making wool dryer balls. I've been using them for years. I absolutely love them. So we're going to go over the benefits of them and then how to make them. Now, I did try two different kinds during this workshop that I've never done before. The first one being a wool sweater. So I had seen where somebody had taken a wool garment, cut it up, and then made it into a wool dryer ball. So I went to the local thrift store, found a 100% wool sweater, and cut it up and actually made it into a dryer ball like this one. And then the other one that I had never done before was using wool yarn. And that's what this one is made of here. I am a spinner, a wool spinner with a spinning wheel. And this is what this looked like before. Now, of course, this is only half of the yarn because I would need to ply it with the other one, but this is how it starts. And so I had a wool hat that I wasn't using anymore. So actually I wasn't using it because I didn't like how it turned out. I'm okay as a spinner, I'm terrible as a knitter. So I took it all apart and took that yarn and used it to make this wool dryer ball. And then the last thing that I used to make a wool dryer ball was roving, and this is what roving looks like here. This one has been dyed, so my sheep was not actually this color, but this is wool roving here, and this is what I have used before to make dryer balls, and so I absolutely knew that this was going to work, but I wasn't sure about the wool yarn or the wool garment, but surprise, they both worked. And so I will show you the process of making that happen in this video. The other thing that I wanted to mention are the benefits of making or using wool dryer balls. I have my cheat sheet here so I don't forget anything. The first one is you save money. And of course, how can you save money? Well, these can be used over and over and over again for a couple of years, actually. Even when they start to get the little balls on them, just from being worn, they still work. They just don't look as smooth on the outside, but they work just fine. So I've had the same dryer balls for years and they work just fine still. So you save money by not having to buy continuously dryer sheets if that's what you like to use in your dryer. The other thing too with the dryer sheets is you have all kinds of chemicals. I did read some articles on using dryer sheets, of course, how horrible it is for you because of all the chemicals that are on dryer sheets. And so with these dryer balls, they're all natural. So you don't have to worry about the chemicals in this. For the dryer sheets, a lot of people use them because they want their clothes to smell nice. You don't get that with a wool dryer ball. Unless, of course, you decide to put an essential oil on it, which you can. You would like inject it or put it on the outside, but not a lot because you don't want to get oil stains on your clothes, but just a little bit, and it will help to scent your clothes when they're finished. So you save money by not having to buy fabric sheets, and you save money because you can use these for years and years and years. The other way that you save money is using dryer balls in your dryer to dry your clothes actually cuts down on the drying time. I read anywhere from 25 to 50%. I'm assuming that depends on what you're trying to dry, how hot your dryer is, what time of year it is, where you live in the country. So a lot of variables with that, but on average, 25 to 50% cutting down on the time that it takes to dry your clothes. Oh, it helps to get rid of wrinkles because these are rolling around in there. It actually like pounds your clothes, and so they don't stay scrunched up the whole time that they're going through the dryer. The balls help to keep all the clothes separated and spread out, if you will, so there's not as much of a chance for wrinkles because you're using the dryer balls in there. Now, the other thing that I found with mine is it took out the static electricity, and there were others who said sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But it depends on the time of year or how dry you are. When I used these a lot, I lived in Georgia, extremely humid, never had a problem with static because of the humidity there. But when I lived in Montana, extremely dry where I was. And so yes, a couple of times I did have some static that was in there. But the way you can mitigate the static is you can spritz these with water before putting them into your dryer, and it will help alleviate that static electricity that builds up. So that's a couple of ways that you can use that for. So yes, it helps keep out the wrinkles and it helps with the static electricity. Like I said, I had never used a wool garment or the wool yarn. This, I think, is a fabulous way to go. Now, I went and purchased this at a local thrift store, and it was $8.50, I think, for this big sweater. Now, I only got one ball of it out of it, but I'm sure you could get 4 or 5 balls out of this one sweater that I had picked up. And of course, the yarn, again, if you go to a thrift store and find things that are 100%, taking them apart, whether it's yarn that you pull apart or whatever, you can make those. Or if you have like a wool blanket in your house that you're not using or you were going to get rid of, you can strip that and make those into wool dryer balls. So anyways, they also make a really nice gift. I actually gave some to my kids, my son-in-law especially. He was working towards like getting plastic out of the house and, you know, the dryer sheets and all those kinds of things. And so I bought him some wool dryer balls because I still had mine and I hadn't made any new ones yet. So I bought him some and he loves them. And part of it is just kind of going back to that all natural and not having, especially if you have sensitive skin, alternative chemicals or what you don't know is in there on your skin. And so these make lovely gifts also for birthdays, for Christmas, for just because. And if you know somebody who has sheep, by all means, buy roving from them. It takes about 4 ounces of the roving to make 1 dryer ball. And so that just gives you kind of an idea of how much roving you would need. It weighs nothing, but the length is there to ball up into a dryer ball. So with all that said, and knowing how fabulous these wool dryer balls are going to be, let's get going with how to make them. And we are going to make them with the sweater, the wool yarn, and also the roving. So here we go. Here's what we're going to use today to make our wool dryer balls. This is roving. This is made from a fleece. This is the most direct from a sheep. And it's taken to a processor. Once the sheep has been sheared, the wool's taken to a processor and they run it through a machine so all the fibers are going in the same direction. This one does have a little bit of grass and stuff that's still in it, but no big deal. We'll just take that out. And so this is roving, 100% wool. This is wool yarn. I actually did spin this yarn. This is wool from my sheep, and it was made into roving, and then I took it and spun it on my spinning wheel and made it into yarn. So I'm using this for a wool dryer ball. And then lastly, this is a wool sweater that I found at the local thrift store, and I cut it into strips and we're going to make it into a ball. Now you can use a wool sweater, wool socks, wool hat, wool blanket, something like that, but it has to be 100% wool. So what you're going to do, if you can get your hands on some roving, if you know somebody who raises sheep, you can ask for that. You can buy it. It's a little bit expensive when you buy it, but it's fabulous for making these wool dryer balls. So again, you're just going to take this and you're just going to roll it and start making it into a ball. And if you want, you can take out these little pieces. I found, especially the ones on the inside, that doesn't really matter. Also, my sheep was not this color. This is, I don't know if it shows in the video, but it's a little bit orangey color. I had a couple of friends and we all had sheep, and we got into natural dyes because we were also spinners. So we would play with different colors. I think this may have been turmeric, but definitely a faded turmeric that we used on the wool. So we're just going to keep rolling it. Again, the size is a tennis ball that you're working towards. And I also, the reason I started making dryer balls, I had the wool, but I also had a lot of wool, and it started to pile up because I had several sheep, And so it was starting to pile up in my room, and I thought, what else can I do with this? And I discovered these dryer balls, and it was fabulous because it only takes about 4 ounces of this roving to make a dryer ball, but 4 ounces in volume is a good bit. And so I was very happy to use my roving to make dryer balls, and I did used to make them and sell them. You want to try and get it into a nice looking ball. I just need to pull this a little bit tighter and it will look better for making our wool dryer ball. So this is a good size right here. And then you can also take your wool and move it around a little bit. Again, when it felts, you will have a bit of an opportunity to kind of shape it, but this is pretty much what it's going to look like for our wool dryer balls. I'll tuck this in right here, and there you go. Here's another way that you can create your wool laundry balls. This is actually a hat that I had knitted, and it's made with wool yarn. It's actually wool roving that I spun into yarn, and I made a hat, and I didn't like the hat at all, so I just undid it. I'm a terrible knitter. But anyways, I made it into a ball, or started a ball, and I'll show you how I started that. So you're just going to take your yarn, your wool yarn, and find an end, and then you'll just start small of bunching it up, and then you're going to just start wrapping the wool around it, the yarn around it, until you can start creating a ball. And it's a little tedious at the beginning, but it works, and eventually you'll get more that you can hang on to. So we're going to start like this, and it'll get bigger and bigger and bigger until you get to this point. So I'm just going to add on to what I already have here. And so we're going to just make this ball, and you want the ball to be about the size of, actually a little bigger than a tennis ball. And you're just going to keep winding it and winding it. Now, mine was cut into pieces because I'm such a fabulous knitter that it didn't unravel beautifully like it should. So I have a lot of just loose ends, but you're going to keep taking this, and you can see how it goes, and just keep wrapping and wrapping and wrapping until you get at least the size of a tennis ball. I might go a little bit bigger than that. So there you go. This is one way, is to take wool yarn. You can purchase it. You can go to a thrift store or whatever, but you can use the wool yarn and make a ball with it. And then I will show you soon how to create this into a woolen laundry ball. The other item that you can use to make your wool dryer balls is a wool garment. I went to the local thrift store and found this one. It was $8.49, and the way you can tell that it is wool is it says in here 100% wool. I looked through so many garments before I found some that were 100. I actually only found 2 that were 100% wool. So 100% wool, and the other thing you can tell is it says dry clean only. That's very indicative of wool. I wanted to let you all know also, if you can't find what the material is of the garment up here on the neck, on the back of the neck, a lot of times you will find them on the inside of the garment on the side seam, like this one. This one is not the garment. What it's made of. This is a different kind of a tag, but if you can't find it in the neck part, look in the inside on the side seam, and that's typically where it will be. So what we're going to do with this sweater is we're actually going to cut it into strips so that we can roll the strips into a ball. So I'm going to cut this sleeve right down to the end. You see here, I will admit it was a little bit difficult to take this sweater. I held it for a little bit and thought, would I wear this? But nope, I don't need another sweater. So I'm just going to cut this into strips. Now we have the strips of this sweater. They're cut, and now we're going to take these strips and actually roll them into a ball, just like we did with the wool yarn. And this one actually goes faster because the strips are bigger. And the reason that we are doing wool for all of these is because we're eventually going to agitate the wool. And when you agitate it, it becomes felted, which is what gives you these solid wool balls. I also found that if you tuck in your ends, it helps keep them. This isn't as long, of course, as the yarn was. And so tucking in the ends actually helps keep it from coming apart. Ask me how I know that. So here we go. We're just gonna go ahead and do this. And it doesn't have to be a sweater. I just happened to find this. I also knew out of one sweater I could get a couple of wool balls. So I got more bang for my buck, as they would say. But you could use wool socks. You could use wool blankets. You could use anything that's 100% wool. And that's what we're looking for, is the 100% wool. So we're going to keep doing this until it forms a ball. Again, the size that you want is tennis ball size or bigger. It will shrink some when we agitate it, or as we would say, felt the laundry ball. So just going to keep this up until I get my wool ball that we will felt into a wool dryer ball. The next step to making our wool dryer balls is to buy a pair of pantyhose, nylons, torture devices, whatever you would like to call them. Anyways, I bought these at the dollar store. So as you can see, they were $1.25. And this is what we're going to use for the next step of making our wool dryer balls. Okay, I took them out of the package. And then what you're going to do is you're going to insert the woolen balls that you made, whether you made it from a woolen garment or wool yarn or roving, and you're going to stick this in the nylon like this. Make sure it's in there really good. And then you're going to tie a knot at the end of this. I'm going to put in 3 balls today, so that's why we're going to tie a knot here at the end like this. And then I'm going to go ahead. So this was the one that was the wool sweater. And the next one I'm going to put in is the yarn. So it's 100% wool yarn. And that one will go in next. And we're going to do the same process. Get it in there nice and snug. And then we're going to go ahead and put a knot in the top of this. I guess I could have cut it, but no, that would have been way too easy to do that. So we'll just do it this way. And then the last one that I have to do is the roving that we made into a ball. So we're going to put that one in next. Let's see if I can find the right leg. And as you can see, this isn't taking up a ton of the leg. I'm doing 3 balls, but you certainly could do a whole lot more than 3 if you were going to use the whole nylon. So here's the ball. This one's a little bit harder because it's not quite as tight as the other 2 were. So we'll get this in here like so. Hold, please. Let me get this wrapped back in there. Okay, and then we're going to tie a knot in the top of this one also. And then we will be ready to put this into the washing machine. So I'm going to put it in the washing machine on hot as you're able to do in your machine. And then you're going to dry it as hot as you can. And the natural agitation of the washing will felt these. So here we go. We've got the wool sweater, 100% wool sweater, 100% wool yarn. And then this is wool roving from one of my sheep that I had when I lived in Georgia. So off to the washing machine we go now. Okay, we have our 3 wool balls, hopefully, that came out of the washer and then the dryer. I did set everything on hot, so we'll see. I'm concerned about 2 of these that they actually didn't work. The only ones that I've ever done have been with roving. And so, but I'd read that you could do it with wool yarn and wool garments. So we'll see how they look when we take them out. So the first one will be the roving, the wool roving. And yes, this is what I thought it was going to be like. So it even felted to the nylons. So let me take these out. And this one has worked. This one is definitely felted to the nylon. And it'll take a little bit to get it undone. But as you can see, it is a ball and it's all together. So that one for sure worked. I'm not so sure about the wool yarn. We'll find out here in just a second. It didn't stick to the nylon. Oh, okay. It did work, surprisingly. Yeah, I'm sure you could pull this apart if you wanted to, but nope, it worked. So there you go. This is 100% wool yarn. And then this last one I'm going to check to see. This was the wool, 100% wool garment. And we'll see if it worked. I don't know. We'll see. Okay, again, this one did. Now it's not as tight. So I'm actually going to try another technique in the sink, but it's almost there. I think if I went through the washer and dryer a couple more times, we would definitely be there for a wool ball. But yeah, I'm super excited, especially about this one. Look how pretty this one looks. And this is the yarn. So yay. Okay, pleasantly surprised because I didn't think that this one or this one worked, but they did. I just want to tighten up this one a little bit more. So I'm going to try another technique for making it tighter, and I'll let you all know. Okay, the other way to agitate your wool is to put it in hot water with some dishwashing soap. And then I did put it back in a piece of nylon. And so it's tight in there. I actually tightened it after it got wet. And then you just roll it and squeeze it. And this water is as hot as I can stand it. And then just push it and try and agitate it as much as you can so that all the fibers start hooking to each other. And then when you're finished after doing this for a couple minutes, then hopefully this will work for this sweater. We're good with the other 2, but this one, and then I'm just going to shape it a little bit. And there you go, and I'll set it out to dry. Okay, we have the ball that had the sweater that we had cut into strips, and then I threw it back. Well, I did the second type of processing that you can do, and that was with the dishwashing liquid in a hot water in a sink. And yeah, looks like it worked this time. So there you go. This is the sweater, the 100% wool sweater that was cut into strips. And it didn't really work when I just threw it in a washing machine with hot water and then put it through the dryer. So the second time
I just took this, put it back in a nylon into this, and then put dishwashing liquid on it, and then just squeezed it in and out, and then we threw it back into the dryer. And yes, it worked this time. So there you go. If you want to use 100% wool garment and make it into a ball and then process it, it works.
And that's how you make wool dryer balls, whether you're using a woolen garment, wool yarn, or roving. So I hope you enjoyed the process. Again, there was 2 different processes where you could take any of those 3 and put them into a ball, make them into a ball, put them into a nylon, throw them in the washer on hot and then in the dryer, and let that agitation felt the balls together. Or, as the problem that I had with the sweater, you can also put them into the nylon, agitate them in as hot water as you can stand with dish soap, and then that also will felt your balls so that they stay together for wool dryer balls. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know if there's anything else that you were wanting to learn about. Because I've been doing this for decades, I'm sure I've tried it, or I know somebody who does it. And I have no problem reaching out because I'm always learning. And if I don't know it, I'm pretty sure I know somebody else who knows how to do it. So thank you all for being here. Please subscribe to the channel. I will continue doing these. I actually really enjoy them. I'm hoping that my grandkids, when they get a little bit older, will be able to refer back to these of when Nana taught them via video how to save money through making their own products or making their own foods. I think next time we're going to go ahead and do dog treats. I was amazed at how easy they are to make, the money that I saved, and also my sweet little granddaughter helped me make them. So thanks again for being here with the Urban Homesteader. I hope you all have a great week.